Hey, it's day 13 of the Relation Fit series, and thanks for hanging in there. Today we're going to talk about the art of endurance. The art of endurance. I'm not going to waste any time. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, in its entirety, in the context of which we're talking about it in love, says this. It says, love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It is not boastful. It is not arrogant. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not irritable. And love does not keep a record of wrongs. Love finds no joy in unrighteousness, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. That's where we are today. Endures all things. Love never ends. Today it might seem very similar to the first time that I told you we're going into these deep relationships, that it's starting to talk about close relationships. Similar to that first day, where love bears all things, that word bear signifies more of a carry. Endurance is more about longevity. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Having said that it has to do with longevity, it also includes hardship, hence the endurance. There's something to endure. And so, today we're going to be looking at not a story of someone, which is a little unusual for this study, but we are actually going to be looking at a letter that was written from Paul. Actually, no one knows who wrote this letter. Some people think it was Paul. Some people think it was a guy named Apollos. Some even think it was a guy named Barnabas. Either way, someone wrote this letter from, we don't know who, to the Hebrews, to the children of Israel. And it says in Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, it says this. It says, therefore, since we also have such a large cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us lay aside every hindrance and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Let us run with, same word, endurance, the race that lies before us, keeping our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy that lay before him, he endured the cross, that word again, endured, despising the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Now, this little passage is chock full of information that will help you and I discover the art of endurance in order to help our relationships. And I'm going to go right into it, and I'm going to start breaking it down for you, okay? Hebrews, again, 12, 1 and 2. It says this. It says, therefore. Now remember, I'm going to teach you something about Scripture. Anytime you see the words therefore, you need to see what it's there for. So what have we just talked about in Hebrews chapter 11? What's the context? Because he says therefore, as in like, since you know all these things, then understand this. Well, what is it that we were supposed to know? Because we didn't read that before we read this verse. It's talking about faith. Hebrews 11, starting with verse 1, starts out this way. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for. It's the evidence of things not seen. We also learned that by faith it is impossible to please God. That it takes faith to please him. And then it goes back and says, before Jesus came, all these prophets that lived before, it looked like maybe they were justified because of the sacrifices they made, or it looked like that all this was going on for them, when in reality, it was by faith they did these actions and God counted it unto them as righteousness. Why? Because of their faith. Therefore, because that faith is what brings us into relationship with God and what God honors, it's that faith. Therefore, now that we know that, and he says this, so that's what therefore is. Since we have such a great or such a large cloud of witnesses surrounding us. Now, this is interesting. Interesting language, because he's talking about all these people that he's already mentioned. He's talking about Abraham. He's talking about Ruth. He's talking about Jesus. He's talking about all the people we read about in Scripture. Rahab, David, all these people. All the saints that have gone before. We have all these witnesses surrounding us. It's really, I don't want to get too theological on you in this study about relationships, but it's about people who are in relationship with God who have already passed away, that they don't die and just leave and no longer exist, but they exist in the spirit realm all around us, witnessing the lives that we live. See, you can't fool the spiritual. Let me help your relationship real quick. You ready? Whether this is your marriage or your parenting or a friendship, what you say to somebody you're in relationship with and what's in your heart are two different things sometimes. You know that. I know that. But you can't fool the spiritual realm. God didn't just hear what you said. He saw that it was inconsistent with what you felt, with what you really thought. He saw that it was a lie that wasn't matched to the truth of who you are or what really happened. So he sees it for what it is. All of these people, witnesses in the spirit realm, see it for what it is. And that's not to intimidate you. That's just to open your eyes to the spiritual reality of what already exists all around us. We read this all throughout Scripture. We see that an angel was coming to help Daniel, but he couldn't get to Daniel because he had a fight with demons on the way there to help Daniel. Like, there is a spiritual realm at play, at war. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places. And all of this reality is around us, yet there are some that are around us that are these great cloud of witnesses of faith. That's what he's talking about. Now, that's heavy and weird theologically, but I want you to understand what he's saying in the context so that you can understand how to apply what he's really saying to your life. So he's saying that that's what's happening, and here's what he says. Because we have all these people around us who have showed us the way, let us lay aside all the hindrances and the sin that easily distracts us. You know your sin. Lay it aside. Don't let it be a distraction. In your relationship, your sin of selfishness, lay it aside. Your sin of envy, lay it aside. All the things that we've read about that love is not, cast them aside. Why? So that we can run with endurance the race that lies before us. Keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. So watch this. It is really cool how it all ties back together. He says, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. It takes endurance. In other words, you got to be in it for the long haul. Set a pace. Get going, This is what we're doing because of all these people around us cheering us on, and they've shown us how to do it. Let's go. We're going to do it. We have good instruction, and we're going to follow this path. In other words, let your life live with the consistency of what is really going on the inside. In other words, live physically the reality of which you are living spiritually. Maybe I should put it this way. Your spirituality should match up with your physical reality. See, you might pray a lot for change, but you're not spiritually apt, spiritually deep enough, giving enough of your attention to the spiritual things that matter. So when you physically do something that doesn't match the spiritual reality, that inconsistency doesn't work because you can't fool God. You might be able to fool a relationship momentarily, but there are spiritual witnesses that eventually the judge weighs all things, and God is the judge, and He knows your heart. So may your actions match how you feel. Not meaning if you feel hatred, you act hatred. What I'm trying to tell you is feel appreciative. Feel selfless. Truly make your mind and your heart selfless. And the reason that a lot of times we're not is because we're so distracted from the reality of the relationships that we're in. So we take a phone and we hold a phone and we're distracted from this relationship, and then we wonder why this relationship isn't going so well because we need to cast aside that which so easily hinders us from the race that's set before us of being in relationship with people. So we are called to endurance, and there are people who have shown us the way to endure rightly. This is amazing. Watch this. So, run with endurance the race that lies before us. How do you do that? What do you do to help you do that? Keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus, not on yourself. If you watch yourself, you're going to stumble and fall. If you compare your race to everybody else's, you're going to stumble and fall. But you keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the author, so the originator, and perfecter. He's going to perfect it. He's the one who can bring it to fruition of our faith. Whoa. See, the cool part about this, I'm a geek out biblically, because he's just talked about Hebrews 11. He's talked about faith, 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 oh, big faith. Abraham, big faith. Rahab, big faith. All these people, big faith. Therefore, because we're surrounded by all this great faith, you run your race with endurance. Keeping your eyes fixed on Jesus, not on you, on Jesus, who's the author and perfecter of our faith. See how he brings it home? It's as if he took what they thought of, this is great, these are the classic stories, the legends that we read about, yet it's really keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus that gave them faith, Jesus that gives us our faith. And now he's talking about your faith. It's the application part. How do we know that we're going to last with endurance in relationship? There is only one way to have endurance in your marriage. There's only one way to have endurance in your parenting. There's only one way to be able to endure your parents, and that is keeping your eyes fixed on Jesus. So if your marriage isn't standing the test of time, fix your eyes on Jesus and watch what he'll do with it. If your parenting seems out of whack, fix your eyes on Jesus and watch how he transforms it. If you feel like your friendships are just awful, fix your eyes on Jesus. Get them off of yourself. Get them off of the other person. Get them off of comparison and put them on Jesus, who is the author and the perfecter of our faith. And here's what it says about him. He's the perfecter of our faith. And for the joy that lay before him, that's you, that's me. He saw relationship. And for that relationship, what did he do? For the joy that lay before him, he endured. That's what it says. He endured the cross, despising the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. What did Jesus do for the joy of being in relationship with you? He endured death. This is a hard teaching. This is hard to live out. If you want to have a great relationship, you have to endure death. Your death, death to self, that it's no longer about you, it's about them and the relationship and the joy of being with that person. Being in relationship with that person means that because of that joy, you choose to endure a daily death to self because it's not about you. It's as if you're not living for you, but you're living to serve them. That's how you get a relationship. That's how you grow in healthy relationship. It sounds like you're just going on it for the long haul. No, 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 no. It is equivalent to enduring death to self for the joy set before you. The same way that Jesus did. It was a relationship that made him endure the death of the cross, a relationship with you. And now that he endured that for you, that's the example. So as an unreasonably committed follower of Jesus, we follow his practices and do what he did as he did it. So what that means is because of the relationship with you, we endure a death to ourselves so that we can have relationship with you, so that you can have relationship with the people around you, the ones that you want to go to that level, your marriage, your children, your parents, maybe your siblings or some close friends, those types of relationships that are worth the investment. You've got to be committed to enduring self-death. As if it's no longer you but living. And Jesus said this, whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. You'll find real, full life. You've got to kill yourself, your ego, your pride, all the things that cause you to be selfish. You no longer live, but Christ in you, who gives himself as a servant to others. It's difficult. It's hard. But when you do it, your character will be such that follows Jesus, which means you get better and all your relationships get better too. There's some journal prompts below to see how you're doing. Fill it out, go over it. When you go back through this again to see how you're doing, then you can judge where you were and where you are now by filling out the journal prompts again. Take a walk today. I got to talk with you about this a little more. And I'll see you here tomorrow for our final day of Relation Fit. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.